Hey, welcome into the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports today. Here on this fantastic Monday, it's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from our homes here, and we'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports content. The weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Wade, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Mo. Good to see you. Good to be with everybody today. You are right. It is a great start to the week here. Ready to get things kind of rocking and rolling. Big show lined up. A lot to tap into. Kind of standard for us, but looking forward to it nevertheless.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on this weekend, man. In the second hour, we will be chatting with Teresa M. Walker of the Associated Press as the Tennessee Titans went down to Nissan Stadium for a Saturday workout, and it worked out pretty well for most, but not all. We'll get into some of that with Teresa again in the second hour. In the next segment, we'll be visiting with VALAIR SHABILLA of 615 Soccer. Another trip to the West Coast this weekend for the Nashville Soccer Club, and I think we might just need to petition to not play on the West Coast anymore. So get into it with VALAIR on that tough 1-0 loss out at San Diego on Friday night in the next segment. I got questions, not a bunch, but a couple. And so looking forward to talking with VALAIR because he knows all things footy. Also talking a little NASCAR. They had a little event over the weekend that we'll be getting into. We will also talk some baseball, as little as possible. I think that would be in both my and Wade's best interests. Some more National Football League talk, as well as collegiate and high school football, going from preps to pros here on Main Street Sports today, as we like to do. And again, it is the weekend wrap-up. We'll get into some other events of the weekend. An international horse race that kind of got some attention. We'll let you know why here later in the show. But again, plenty to get into as we continue to inch our way toward football season again at the high school, collegiate, and professional level. And that really kind of ups the ante as a lot of folks say we've survived the summer. You know, we will actually have football this week.
Yeah,
it's exhibition football, but it's football.
You got a little preseason action, but always exciting. All the high school teams have been working hard all summer. Now you kind of get to strap on the pads and then look outside because you can't practice because it's 95 degrees, or at least you better not be practicing. There's a few programs that kind of have been known to get around that. But yes, it's kind of back. The juices are flowing. You're right. Chargers and Lions this way. I mean, that's about as electric as you can get for a game that means absolutely nothing coming up Thursday. So kind of good to kickstart us into it. And we've survived kind of the summer doldrums here.
Absolutely. And, again, more so for me than Wade, but I'm kind of glad football is coming along because maybe it'll distract me from baseball. Because Lord knows
one way to look at it.
The team that I've been watching probably has gotten more of my attention than it has deserved. So might be time for me to move on to something else. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's
no one could ever accuse you. No one could ever accuse you of not being a diehard fan because if you've been watching this Braves team, yeah, you've earned your stripes. Well done.
Man, it's been rough to say the least. So yeah, let's we've laid it out. Let's go ahead and jump into it with this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Let's rock and roll, boys and girls. Your Monday Rundown is here, but before we hop into it, want to remind you that each and every single Monday, your Rundown is brought to you by our friends at Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right here in Murray County, so give them a call today. That number is 931-388-5831, or you can visit them online at zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. Once again, Zion Christian Academy, where they are prepared for college and equipped for purpose.
Friday, Major League Baseball results. It was the Texas Rangers downing Atlanta 8-3. The Athletics with a historic performance from a rookie down in Houston, 15-3. We'll get more into that one later in the show. Sounds action over at First Horizon Park. The host dropped a 3-0 decision to visiting Charlotte. Major League Soccer, we've touched on it. We will touch on it again. San Diego won. Nashville Soccer Club nothing. And in WNBA action on Friday night, it was the New York Liberty with an 89-76 win over the Phoenix Mercury. Minnesota Lynx, man, Vegas struggling. 109-7, the Lynx over the Aces. And Golden State picks up an 86-76 win over Dallas.
Roll into Saturday. Took 10 innings, but the Rangers hang on for a 6-5 win versus the Braves in our first MLB score. It was 5-1 in your second action of the day as the Athletics defeat the Astros. The Sounds with a 5-4. Nice little one-run victory there for the home team. 5-4 over Charlotte on Saturday. A couple of WNBA scores from Saturday. It was the Sparks 101, the Liberty 99. Low-scoring affair, however, as the Mystics defeat the Storm. That final was 69-58.
Not low-scoring Sunday baseball action. Texas closes out that 3-game series against Atlanta with a sweep, 8-1. Also, the Athletics down the Astros, 7-1. Sounds action. They close out that series against Charlotte with a 3 walk-off victory. We'll talk more about that one later in the show, but they win the series with that win yesterday. WNBA action from Sunday. The Connecticut Sun with a rare win and in decisive fashion, 95-64 over Golden State. Indiana with a 93-78 win over the Chicago Sky. The Aces bounce back for a 106-80 win over the Dallas Wings. It's Phoenix 88, Washington 72, and the Atlanta Dream 90, the Minnesota Lynx 86.
Take you into this afternoon, take you into today's schedule. A couple of MLB matchups on the docket. The Braves will be at the Royals. That game starts at 6:40, and it can be seen on FanDuel Sports South. At 7:10, it'll be a World Series rematch as the Nationals take on the Astros. 7:10 will be your first pitch time there. 6:40 Braves, 7:10 Astros for your MLB action tonight. A couple of WNBA matchups. You can see both of them on the ESPN family of networks. First one, Seattle at Connecticut. That game gets underway at 6. You can see it on the Watch ESPN app. You can also see the Liberty at the Wings. Should be a fun little showdown. A little Paige Becker's action for everybody on a national stage because at 7 p.m. it will be broadcast on ESPN. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a couple WNBA games, a couple MLB games. That is your schedule on this Monday. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this Monday Rundown.
Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia, our top story sponsor. Bubba Wallace snaps a 100-race Cup Series drought in one of the more storied facilities in racing. Wins the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway yesterday, holding off Kyle Larson in double overtime. Winning the fuel battle as much as anything else, but picking up, again, his first win since September of 2022. 2311's first win of the season as an organization, and becomes just the second African-American race car driver to win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He was the first to win on the oval. Lewis Hamilton won an F1 race on the road course at Indy. But big win, for a number of reasons. I think we just laid most of them out right there. Again, 2311, which has been battling with NASCAR in courts, picked up a win on the track. So big win for the team, big win for Bubba. Nice to see him kind of, live up to or cash in, I guess, on what the expectations have been for him for a minute. I mean, when we talk to Heather Williams, it's like he's right there. Well, he finally pushed through and got one. And again, in one of the biggest, more storied venues of the sport.
Yeah, snagged a victory. Talk about a time for to snap that streak, winning a major, as it were, or a crown jewel race in NASCAR parlance there. And I mean, this was, I'm kicking myself, Mo, because I had this race queued up, and they go to the rain delay with 4 laps left. And I'm kind of keeping tabs, and then we get sidetracked, and then poof, the race is over. But the whole buildup to that rain delay and then inevitable restart was he going to have enough fuel? And he could have survived 1, maybe 2 overtime restarts. But you know how these things go. Sometimes there's 5 or 6, as we saw in Nashville last summer. But he does survive, and he does get the win. And once they kind of really got restarted after an early crash, we said bye-bye to Tyler Reddick and Zane Smith at that point. But once that kind of was settled, he had the goods. The only real question was he going to have enough fuel to win? And he sneaks by the skin of his teeth. What a win, what a performance, and a well-deserved victory there in a historic venue.
Again, Bubba wins for 23-11. Denny Hamlin places third for 23-11. So a nice weekend for Michael Jordan and the bunch there. Again, Wallace holding off Larson in double overtime. Ryan Preece is fourth. Brad Keselowski finished fifth. 6 through 10, Todd Gilliland, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman, and Carson Hocevar. With the win, Bubba clinches a spot in the playoffs. No small accomplishment there, obviously. And, you know, most important, Ty Gibbs defeats Todd Dillon in the in-season challenge. I need to see where the two of them finished individually, but Gibbs with the victory there. So
yeah, you can do some damage with $1 million. So a nice little addition to the kitty there, as it were, and comes with some history as well. Obviously, getting the first, but also kind of doing it at that venue. I would imagine he and especially the crew and friends and family were very excited about that yesterday.
Ty Gibbs finishes 21st. Ty Dillon finishes 28th. So that's how the in-season challenge finished up. And, you know, the first race of the challenge, notwithstanding some pretty good stuff. I'll be interested to see is this something that they are locked into long-term? Has that been a decision that's been made? Will we see this again next year? I wonder.
Yeah, I got no clue. Hopefully Heather can shed some light later in the week. And, you know, I mean, it feels like it was a cool thing. Got us talking about it, a little something. And, you know, it probably didn't go as smoothly as, you know, you weren't anticipating losing over half of your elite drivers in the very first race due to wreck. Right. But, I mean, them's the breaks, baby, as they say. But then also, you know, I was worried about this, too. I mean, you just rattled off the results. Kind of a somewhat high-profile thing came to a conclusion, and we're talking about, well, he finished 21st instead of 28th. You know, it didn't have that drama of second finishing ahead of third or, you know, first finishing ahead of second. I mean, we're talking about some guys toward the middle / back of the pack. So kind of ends with a little bit of a whimper, but still cool nonetheless. Right. And like I said, $1 million going to spend just as nice for Mr. Gibbs. Good job by him.
He's not going to give it back. Yeah, Hendersonville's Josh Berry finishes 22nd on the day. Let's see, other notables. Yeah, we typically shout out the Trackhouse Racers. SVG coming in 19th. Daniel Suarez. I saw his name. Where'd I see it? Come on. Suarez 27th. And Chastain did not complete the race. He finished last at 39th. So not one of the greatest weekends for Trackhouse, but it be what it be. Again, Josh Berry coming in 22nd, was running at the end. Catherine Legg 17th. So next is, where do we go from here? We go to Iowa next weekend. It's the Iowa Corn 350. So sure, that'll be exciting.
Yeah, Children of the Corn going to get ready for Sunday. And, you know, you go from the end of the in-season challenge. You go from, you know, one of the top races in the sport. Not slighting, you know, the good fine folks at the Iowa Speedway, but it'll be tough to kind of get some of that mojo back after a good little stretch they've had this last month or so.
Yeah. We are into the final month of the regular season, basically. It's Iowa this weekend, followed by Watkins Glen, the Cookout 400 at Richmond, and the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona on August 23rd before the playoffs start. So Bubba got in under the wire there basically with that win yesterday, qualifying. I'm not sure how many spots are left. We can let Heather get into a lot more of the weeds on all of that stuff when she comes on Wednesday with David and Calvin. Again, new schedule kicks in this week. Tomorrow it will be Wade and Calvin White. Wednesday it will be David Wilson and Calvin. Thursday it'll be me and David, and Wade and I will be back together on Monday. So look forward to that. I'm excited to see what some of our newcomers can do driving this thing from 2 to 4. So should be a lot of fun for all of us. I'm looking forward to it. But again, Bubba Wallace with the win, first in almost 3 years. Again, snapping a 100 race drought. So huge victory for him. Congrats. Let's go ahead and take a break here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will visit with VALAIR SHABILLA of 615 Soccer, talking a little footy. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Bee, oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
The weekend wrap-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now from 615soccer.com, it's VALAIR SHABILLA to break down the events of Friday night as the Nashville Soccer Club, again, goes west and comes home with a 1-0 loss to the San Diego Football Club. VALAIR, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys. I joined in during the zoo commercial, and I really thought I joined the wrong show. I was like, I don't think I'm here for this one.
No, you are in the right place. Welcome to the zoo, man. We appreciate it. Is it as simple as the West Coast isn't good for the boys in gold, or what's the deal here? I mean, we're hearkening back. It wasn't a 3-0 loss like late April when they went to Seattle, but is there something about the length of that road trip or anything, or to what do we attribute being 0 for 2 out there this season?
It's multiple reasons, but one of them is travel. When you're looking at taking a trip across the country, it's not as easy. Like I said, multiple reasons. The other sort of reason is that 3 of your best players, if not your best players, were in Austin late Wednesday night playing in the All-Star game as well. So they didn't join the team until a little later. They met them out there in San Diego. And the travel, the fans out there also, you go to a brand new sort of team in San Diego where excitement is an all-time high. Seattle was the other one, which is one of the best atmospheres in the league. So all of those, I mean, the 2-hour difference even in time messes with people. And in all honesty, especially for this San Diego game, if Nashville SC had played their best, I have no doubt that they were able to get something out of that game, if not a win. The Seattle game kind of went south really quickly, and they scored 3 goals in somewhat quick succession and kind of just ended it right then and there, to where this one, there was a little bit more back and forth. It just seemed like Nashville weren't able to click really, at any point.
Valair, you talk about the team going out there, and I'm curious. It sounded great on television, the vibes out there, but it kind of put into words. We've seen, obviously, and we've kind of been through, to an extent, at least for Nashville, this kind of expansion realm. How are they embracing their new team that is obviously playing so well?
Yeah, so the plus that San Diego has that most expansion teams don't go through is that they are in a Supporters' Shield race as we speak. They win a lot, and they play really nice soccer. We've seen expansion teams win a good amount. Nashville SC was one of them, or at least be successful if not winning. And we've seen some really bad expansion teams like Cincinnati for 3 years straight, setting records for being the worst. But what we haven't really seen is a team winning and getting results and playing this beautiful, expansive sort of way. That is something that's unique to San Diego, and they've embraced it. They have a great that area is rich with soccer fandom, even though there wasn't an MLS team there. There was a USL team there in the past, but also just being in Southern California, it's one of those talent areas that it's a no-brainer to put a team out there. So it's really, for them, it's been I can only assume an incredible ride if you're a San Diego fan, because you go from, oh yeah, we got a team, here we are, and then all of a sudden you're butting heads with the top dogs of MLS. So it's been a good ride. Now, obviously, they got to finish it up, and we'll see what they do in the playoffs. But overall, they figured out how to be that successful team without necessarily having all big names. They do have Chucky Lozano there, who's a big name in the Mexican a household name in the Mexican market, but overall, they didn't really go out there and spend crazy amount of money. It's more so building a good team and having a coach in Mikey Veras that can get the best out of them.
Looking at Ben Wright's article on 615soccer.com, and he points out in matches where one team has traveled across 2 or more time zones, that team has won just 31% of those matches this season. So life on the road, particularly going that far on the road, not easy. But again, Nashville and San Diego scoreless through the first half. Lozano scores 8 minutes into the second half, and it stands up. And maybe Valair, we've gotten a little spoiled. I mean, a 1-0 loss. Now, purists call it a little sloppy on Nashville's part, but a 1-0 loss, we've seen worse.
Yeah, I mean, it's been and I think maybe spoiled is the right word to put it, but expectations have changed and they've shifted for this team. And we talked about that even last time I was on the show about, beginning of the season, if you say Nashville third, fourth, flirting with a Supporters' Shield, that's like a dream come true for any Nashville fan. But now they already did that part. Now you got to live it up, because This project, this whole BJ Callahan project, has been, maybe a year too early, really, in terms of its success. I think nobody expected them to be this good at this point. However, now that you're here, you might as well take advantage of it because you have the fan base, you have people. We saw some of the best crowds in Nashville this season, last month and the month before, show up to Geodis Park and see this team play in a very nice soccer, beating some great teams like Philadelphia and Columbus. So being able to do that is going to attract people. And now that people are attracted, the expectations are higher. Now that people are attracted to you, there are more eyes on you, more people to, be angry when you lose, I guess. So it's kind of comes with it. And it's part of the job now of Nashville SC is to keep this momentum going. Now, I do agree. I don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, they are still 3 points away from the top of MLS. There are 9 games left. Things can change really quickly, especially when you look at the Eastern Conference. You're looking at 5 very good teams going at it, and those 5 teams are taking points out of each other, including Nashville. So it's not like one team. I don't think in these 9 games you're going to see one team really start to make a huge gap. There are 5 teams in the Eastern Conference and 2 or 3 teams in the Western Conference that are going for it. I think the teams are going to drop as we go with each week, but I don't think any team is going to guarantee any spot until the end of the season. And while that's kind of like not great, I guess, if you're Nashville SC, it also means that you do have some of these matches. You go into Cincinnati, for example, that's in your hands. You got to win there. You're back in prime spot again. So if things are in Nashville's hand, they're still in pretty good position in the Supporters Shield. And honestly, other than making the playoffs or making a top 4 spot, anything else is a cherry on top for this season.
Kind of saying that, Valair, any cause for concern? I'm not necessarily as disappointed in the loss, but anytime, especially a BJ Callahan side, road or not, doesn't score a goal, it at least makes me raise my eyebrows. What was your take on being shut out for the first time in 12 matches?
Yeah, I think the main thing that we don't think about or talk about as much, because you have the Golden Boot leader in Sam Sturridge, and behind him, Hani Mukhtar, who has double-digit goals already this season, is that what happens when those 2 guys can't score? So who is that third option? And the reality for Nashville SC is the third option, nobody has more than 3 goals this season other than those 2. So it's been limited. While there has been a lot of players scoring, don't get me wrong, it's been shared with the center backs, the full backs have scored, the midfielders have scored a couple, and obviously the attackers have scored a few. However, there isn't one guy that you go to that's your go-to if Mukhtar and Surge can't figure it out. To be fair, it's not often that Mukhtar and Surge can't figure it out. I mean, look at the numbers. They speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. However, we always talk about those winger positions, and it doesn't seem like any single winger has solidified themselves as a dead-on starter every single match. They go through ebbs and flows. At the beginning of the year, it was Ahmed Qasim, that was his spot to lose. His form kind of goes out a little bit. Johnny Perez comes in, plays really well, but now his form is kind of dipping out a little bit. Schaffelberg came in off the bench in San Diego and seems to be really trying to prove something. And he played, I thought his 25 minutes in San Diego were really good. So we might see him back in the starting lineup. But that winger position is where you're probably looking to get a little bit more of production, whether it's goals or assists, because reality is, other than Sam Sturridge and Hani Mukhtar, Nashville's best forward, other than those 2, is Andy Nahar, who is a right back. Sometimes your right back isn't going to be able to create those chances for you. So then who is creating those? And the load has been shared, like I said, but maybe having a solidified option who is able to create, that's the only concern really going forward for the rest of the season.
Anybody stand out even in a shutout, kind of a frustrating night? Did anybody, you mentioned Schaffelberg, just getting him minutes seems like a good thing, but who else maybe had a decent outing in your mind?
Surprisingly, Brugman also came off the bench, and I thought he had his best game for Nashville in San Diego, even though he only played, I want to say, 17, 18 minutes, something along those lines. But Brugman is somebody who's struggled to really find a spot in this Nashville SC team. He's struggled to find a starting spot, a starting position for him. Even though he's a center midfielder, he plays it different than the two mainstays, Patrick Yazbek and Eddie Taxeth. So having him out there and having him play against San Diego, I thought he was able to really break the lines. And when Nashville has the ball specifically, he's pretty impressive with it. Now, that's the thing. The game state meant that Nashville would have more of the ball. And I think the more Nashville has the ball, Brugman is better. The other thing is that defensively, he was solid. He had like one really good slide tackle and a couple of other really good tackles throughout the match that we just haven't seen that side of him. He's had some chances. He's had some glimpses here and there. But it was surprising to me to see him play with that sort of passion and that sort of drive. And I think that might start, we might start seeing more of Brugman for one of the two center midfielders as if he continues to perform that way.
VALAIR SHABILLA of 615soccer.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. VALAIR, it looks like the schedule kind of eases up a bit in frequency and intensity, if nothing else, for NSC. They've got the friendly with Aston Villa coming to Geodis on Saturday. Then they don't play again till the following Saturday when they go to St. Louis. 8 days after that, they go to New York City, taking on NYCFC. Things starting to slow down, and it's probably a good time just from a heat standpoint and just from a, kind of catch your breath standpoint. You feel like that's something that plays in their advantage, in their favor here?
I think so. I really think so. And the other thing that I think will help is having more time to study the opponent, having more time to maybe draft something up from BJ Callahan perspective to stop certain things or study the game a little bit better. He's a huge believer in film. He's a huge believer in understanding principles, understanding what each player is supposed to be, and understanding expectations from each player. And I think having a little bit more time maybe gives it a little bit more breathing room to explain those principles, to explain those things. I don't think they're going to be focused on the opponent necessarily. I think they have their style of play and they're going to stick with it. However, having an extra day or two to maybe look up that one striker who has 10, 12 goals this season is probably going to be helpful, at least for the center backs who are kind of dealing with him. And then the other thing is fatigue, right? We just talked about travel. We talked about the All-Star game. We talked about games every 3 days. Going from having 2 days to rest or not even 2 days, 1 day to rest and 2 days to train to having a full week or close to a full week every almost every match day is going to really make a difference for recovery. And then when you look at injuries as well, that's another positive because Tyler Boyd is a guy who's coming back from injury. We haven't seen him feature this season. He missed most of last season as well. Really terrible injury. But at the end of the day, Tyler Boyd is one of the best paid players on this roster. And he's also he was supposed to be an important player for this roster. So coming into it, I think he's going to have a little bit more time to maybe ease his way into these matches. And maybe when we were talking about those winger positions, maybe he comes in and shines as that winger spot opens up a little bit in terms of, who's available. So yeah, all in all, I think it's going to be a positive thing. And then there's the US Open Cup semifinal, obviously in the horizon. We're still 6 weeks away, I think, maybe 5 weeks away from that. So still a little bit of time, a good amount of MLS play to go. But once they get that, that semifinal happens, I think it's going to be another sort of push for a championship for this team.
VALAIR, talk to us about the Aston Villa match. 2 questions. Number 1, what kind of side and what would Nashville like to get out of this? And number 2, kind of where do we sit in terms of attendance / interest in a team that finished 4th in the EPL last year coming to town?
Yeah, I don't know in terms of what Nashville can get on the pitch from it. I can tell you what they can get off of the pitch. I think it's more about getting different people into Geodis Park. It's more about getting maybe different crowds than usual. Look, we've all met people who are like, oh, MLS is this, MLS is that, Nashville is this, Nashville is that. I only watch my true beloved insert English team here. Whatever. So maybe they'll have a chance to come to Geodis Park and have a good time out there and change their mind a little bit. Maybe they'll go to a game or two for Nashville now. So I think that's what it's more about. And then the other thing is it's having a Premier League team come in here, check out the facilities, check out the stadium, check out the fans, check out everything that's going on. It might incite some, it might have some, consideration later on for some of these players, even some of the execs, some of, whoever's traveling, right? Having an idea about MLS and then coming in to see it, especially for a team like Aston Villa, who there aren't your Manchester Uniteds and Chelseas of the world who are coming to America every summer. They don't do this often. So this for them is going to be a different experience and maybe something that they'll enjoy enough to when if Nashville ever came knocking for some reason, they'll at least have an idea of it. So that's a long-term goal. Obviously, I don't think anything's going to come out of this match specifically, but I think mostly it's getting people who don't usually go to Geodis Park to go to Geodis Park for this event. Because I think on the pitch, you asked, I think, about the players. I do believe there will be a good amount of Huntsville players participating in this. Now, that said, there is a week break, like Mo said. So I don't know. Maybe BJ Callahan wants to get a good run for his players. I would be surprised, though, if we didn't see some new debuts from the Huntsville team up here in Nashville on Saturday.
Speaking of, the Iron Man, is Clay Trainum going to go to the Saturday match for NSC and then turn right around and go down to watch our Everton boys play Man U in Atlanta? Is he capable? I know he can put some miles on the road.
Oh, he can put miles, but we just recorded our show, and I think he's out for that entire weekend. I think he's going to the Everton training, he said. So he's gonna be present in Atlanta earlier than usual, I think.
Okay, just had to double check. So that means a few folks will have to maybe do a little extra in the supporter section, getting ready for Saturday. But I'm fascinated by that too, because same question, I guess, for Villa. It feels like get a little training, get some miles on the guys. Hopefully nobody gets hurt, and the result is what the result is. You kind of just want to come back and get ready for the rest of your season. It feels like for them.
Yeah, for Villa, it's an easy win. Not win on the pitch. It's a no-brainer for them to come here and play, because this brand is growing for them. They aren't the traditional top 6 English team. They are trying to grow the brand. They are a quarterfinalist in the Champions League. This is not a team that you can just scuff at by any means. So, as Americans are getting more into soccer, it makes a whole lot of sense for these English teams to play here. Because I guarantee you, once Aston Villa leaves Geodis Park, they'll leave with more fans than they came in, especially here in America. And I think that's part of the reason why they want to come here, is because maybe they do have some fans in America. I don't want to disrespect those people who wake up and watch Aston Villa. Now, I'm sorry that you do that, but good for you. But I think they can grow that brand and grow it in America, in one of the biggest soccer markets in the world, if not honestly the biggest soccer market, just in terms of numbers and purchasing power, because Americans buy more than anybody else. So then it makes sense for them to come here. And Nashville is a small enough market where, maybe it's not your New York or Chicago's, but you can have a little niche community here, right? And that niche community, will eventually turn into profits for Villa.
For BJ Callahan, I think the best thing about this situation is if he does sit anybody for Aston Villa, they won't get suspended a game, because apparently the rule regarding the MLS All-Star game is not being accepted very well in Miami. Messi and Alba getting that 1-game suspension for the FC Cincinnati match that ended in a scoreless draw after not taking part in Wednesday's All-Star game in Austin. Mascherano has been heated over that. The Inter Miami owner has been heated over it, and I'm trying to understand, when you consider that the rule is right there. It's right there in black and white, right? Why are we surprised that they actually lived up to what the rule said? And Mascherano even going so far after that Cincinnati match, What would have happened if today's game was an away game? Did that also prevent Leo from playing? Because to fill stadiums and make money, no one complains. The thing is, this game was at home. I'll leave that to you.
Yeah, that's a scorching hot take, huh?
That's a hot take. That is a hot take. That Garber and MLS decided to penalize Inter Miami for violating a rule that is right there written in the books and did it at a home game. Now, one, do we think anybody didn't go because of that? But two, I mean, how do you not suspend those guys when it's there? And I know Wade, leading up to the suspension, was quite cynical about it and didn't really feel like MLS was going to put their foot down. I don't have that familiarity, so I just thought, well, the rule's there. So, where are we on this?
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to do it either, honestly. I just think like Messi
calls the shots, it feels like.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where he's done like 2 or 3 media availabilities since he joined the league, I think. Like that's not normal, and in the rule book it says players should be available when media wants to talk to them. So, another thing where Messi's not following the rules. So I just thought it was one more thing that, there's an exception, because this is quite unusual to have the best player of all time be part of your league. Now, why is Mascherano, why is Inter Miami making a stink out of this? Is because they can, and they are backing themselves to say we are a bigger brand. Collectively, the Messi brand is bigger than the MLS brand. Yes. And we're gonna make sure our word is more respected than MLS's word. That said, a lot of people will support them probably in the soccer world in general, because all-star games don't happen in the soccer world. They happen in MLS. So when you come down to it, if somebody has been watching European or South American soccer for all these years, they probably haven't heard of an all-star game. They probably don't know what that is, but it is a league event that they didn't attend. So I get it on both sides. What I don't get is why MLS scheduled this on a Wednesday when there's a Friday and a Saturday slate of games. Makes no sense to me why they would do that, because give it a little bit of breathing room and maybe Messi would show up, and then if Messi shows up, then all of a sudden you're doubling your views on social media. So I don't know. I'm not here to decide for MLS. What I would say is that the suspension is served. It's over. We'll see how long they will hold this. If Inter Miami lose the Supporters Shield by 1 point, maybe it'll come back to it. Maybe by 2 points. I mean, it will come back to it, and it will say they dropped those 2 points against Cincinnati, and this is why. I don't know, man. It's not like it's one of those things where it's not as big of a deal as people are making it seem to be. I think first and foremost, and the other thing is that Messi signed the contract. Messi's playing in MLS. These are MLS rules. It's unfortunate for him that they aren't the same as La Liga rules. He signed the contract. He was supposed to be there.
And it might not be the big deal, but as a novice to the sport as I am, and that might be stretching it even novice, but it's just a fascinating situation to me. The rule is there. You violated the rule. You got punished. What's the issue? But again, I'm deferring to you guys because both of y'all were surprised at the way it played out. So maybe I'm just not as familiar with MLS as y'all are to see where this is out of the ordinary. But it's fascinating to me. It really is. But I'm glad to have both Wade and you, Valair, to kind of take me by the hand and guide me through some of this stuff. So I appreciate it. Valair Shabilla from 6'1".
And guys, if we thought Messi was, really super duper concerned about this, I mean, he was on the Kiss Cam at Coldplay at Hard Rock this weekend down in Miami. So I feel like Messi's okay with the situation, just moving on, right?
Wait, who was he with? The head of HR? Hopefully not.
He was not with any Miami staffers. He was with Mrs. Messi, if you will.
That's good.
Which would keep things from getting messy. Valair Shabilla of 615 Soccer joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Valair, we appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Thanks, man.
See you, Valair.
Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend wrap-up on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
July 28th, 1982, Phil Niekro gave up a pair of first-inning runs and nothing else over 7. Bob Horner went 3 for 4 with a couple of home runs and 5 RBIs as the Braves down visiting San Diego 8-6. With the win, the 43-year-old Nuxie improved to 10-3 on the year en route to a 17-4 finish for the National League Western Division titleists. That was this day in Braves history. If only Phil Niekro were still around with that knuckleball, the Braves could probably use him right now. In addition to getting swept in Texas over the weekend, again, 7-1 yesterday, 6-5 in 10 innings on Saturday, and 8-3 on Friday, the Braves have put Grant Holmes on the injured list with elbow tightness. He becomes the 5th member of the opening day starting rotation for the Atlanta Braves that is on the injured list. Ronaldo Lopez, A.J. Smith-Shawver, Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach, and Grant Holmes, all on the IL for Atlanta. I don't know how you plan for that.
Not good, right?
Not good. That's not good at all. I mean, you're 44-60, and there's a reason for it. But it's one of those deals where the Braves can't have nice things. Apparently, I mean, Michael Harris has a game for the ages on Saturday. Goes 4 for 4. He's a single short of the cycle in his final at bat. What's he do? He triples for a second time instead. Eventually scores the go-ahead run. The bullpen gives up the tying run in the bottom of the ninth. They give up the winning run in the bottom of the 10th. They get walked off. I mean, Michael Harris II has been struggling all year, but it looks like maybe he's starting to find something. Again, he was 4 for 4 on Saturday, went 8 for 11 in those 3 games out at Texas. But I mean, what difference does it make? Braves are awful. Want to see how awful? Eric Fetty, who at one time, when he was with Washington in particular, was really kind of considered to be the Braves punching bag. One of their color analysts at one time was mentioning an upcoming start for Fetty against the Braves. Oh, we're going to score some runs. And sure enough, they did. Was recently designated for assignment by the Cardinals after going 5-15 with a 4.69 earned run average and 30 starts for St. Louis. Well, he's going to start tomorrow for the Braves at Kansas City. I mean, that's where they're at. You've got Bryce Elder, who shouldn't be with Atlanta. You've got Spencer Strider, who was on the injured list at the start of the year, and those are your 2 starters at this point. And everything else you're trying to put together with bubblegum and chicken wire. And Anthopoulos has gotten a lot of grief for this, and I just don't know that he's necessarily due all of it. I mean, again, who can predict you're going to lose 5 starters from the start of the season until late July?
Yeah, it's a tough game and tough assignment, and that's the when we kind of laugh a little bit about the Dodgers and the Mets kind of signing every body on the planet in the offseason. I mean, injuries are part of it. Houston right there with them. Houston's got a major league high 17th player added to the IL from their opening kind of month of the season there. So you sign the depth and you hope that, the depth is there so you can weather the storm and weather some injuries. But when you're in a spot like Atlanta's in, it doesn't necessarily matter who you bring in. I mean, you're just looking to have bodies to fill out your roster for the last little bit of the season here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what you're looking at this point. I mean, they've played 104 games. They've got, 58 games left. You're just trying to get through this season, I guess, without having to throw Luke Williams too often, infielder Luke Williams. So, I mean, it's Strider 4-8 with a 3.72 earned run average going against Rich Hill and the Kansas City Royals tonight out in KC Mo. The Royals 52-54. Hill lost his first start of the season for Kansas City against Chicago last week. He is 0-1, but he's got a 1.80 earned run average. And the 45-year-old, again, going for his 14th different MLB team tonight. That's a 6:40 start for the Braves and the Royals. Watch at your peril. Houston, meanwhile, goes down 5-2 on Thursday, 15-3 on Friday, 5-1 Saturday, and 7-1 yesterday. And as a high school classmate of mine pointed out, they were outscored 32-7 for the series, and they never led in any of the 36 innings of that game. Tough series for Houston against the AL West cellar dwellers there.
Yeah, nothing went right for them, and you can only say it's a AAA team so many times, but the fact is you got at least a AAA team could still beat the Athletics. That's how bad we're talking they are, but you got to get it done, and yeah, tough break for them. Seattle's obviously kind of held serve. They did pick up a game in the standings, but more importantly, you just mentioned the Texas Rangers. Suddenly, the zombie Rangers have kind of sprung to life. They've won 9 out of their last 10, and they're only 4 games back. So we might have a little 3-team showdown here, a little Mexican standoff heading to the finish in a AL West that a month ago kind of looked like it was Houston's to run away with.
Yeah. They're not running away with it at this point. They have got, as you mentioned, the Washington Nationals coming to town tonight in that World Series rematch. Wonder where Dusty Baker will be for this one. 7-10 start. The Nationals 43-62. And for now, in 5th place in the National League East, a game and a half behind the Braves. Man, never thought I'd be saying that. Anyway, Houston 60-46 coming off that sweep. It's Brad Lord 2-5 with a 3.39 earned run average going for the Nats. Framber Valdez 11-4 with a 2.67, and I think he's won his last 10 decisions. So something positive there for the Astros. But before we get away from this series against the Athletics, Nick Kurtz, who played his college ball at Wake Forest and apparently his high school ball at Baylor down in Chattanooga, 6 for 6 with 4 home runs, a double, scored 6 runs, drove in 8 in that 15-3 outcome on Friday night. That's I don't know who the Rookie of the Year favorite is in the American League at this point, but
we're talking about him. He's like minus 2,500. I don't know what he was prior to Friday's game, but that number did nothing but get higher. It's his to lose.
Yeah. Trade deadline is Thursday. The New York Yankees have gotten out a little bit ahead of it. They were thought to be in on a third baseman. Turned out it was Ryan McMahon out of Colorado. They acquired him on Friday after we went off the air, and then they followed it up by picking up Nationals utility infielder Ahmed Rosario. Not to be outdone, Kansas City trading for Arizona outfielder Randall Grichuk, and I imagine he will make his debut at some point during this series against Atlanta. So the wheels are in motion, and things will continue to get hot and heavy between now and Thursday in terms of guys packing and leaving their teams for other teams. And again, you wonder, whither the Braves? I mean, do they move somebody? If they do move anybody, it'll be for pitching, I would think, because again, they are really, really thin, particularly among the starters. So stay tuned there.
Yeah, not good, but this will be fascinating because, man, it feels like we've taken turns with so many different teams that we don't really know. We thought the Tigers were maybe going to be a team to beat. We thought the Blue Jays kind of there. We thought the Mets were dead and might not even make the playoffs, and now they've reeled off, 7 straight wins in a row. This has been a very up and down season, and these are the moves. There will be a game in September, late September and October, where we're talking about one of these key guys contributing to a team kind of making that postseason push. Going to be kind of fascinating. One of the real trade deadlines that kind of feels like it could really swing a lot of things for the current season. We see a lot of other trade deadlines set up the future, but this one really for a lot of teams feels like the key moves that you need to make.
Yeah, it definitely feels like somebody can do something to really put themselves in a position to do something special before the end of this year. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Let's take a break here as we close out hour number 1 of the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We'll come back for hour number 2 after this. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It's hour number 2 of the weekend wrap-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our next segment, we'll be visiting with Teresa Walker of the Associated Press, talking little Tennessee Titans. But let's look across the NFL as training camps are in full swing right now. Let's start in Cleveland, one of Wade's favorite places to start. They have brought 4 quarterbacks into training camp, but it looks like one of them is going to be sidelined here for a bit. Apparently, Kenny Pickett injured a hamstring during Saturday's workout, so they will be redistributing those reps between veteran Joe Flacco and rookies Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders. I don't know if that makes that situation more interesting or less interesting or how it impacts it, but, you know, they got one less quarterback getting work for the next bit.
Yeah, and life comes at you fast, right? 1 minute you're taking the final kneel down in the Super Bowl as the Eagles celebrate. The next, you're on the Browns and you're injured. Life comes at you fast if you're Kenny Pickett. And to your point, I don't know that this changes much. To me, at least, the trajectory kind of still remains Flacco and then some combination of the rookies. Hopefully one of them, if you're a Cleveland fan or front office member, kind of really separates themselves, because otherwise it feels like a big old glass of blah. You're not real sure what to expect. And it'll be interesting to kind of monitor them. Flacco is obviously steadied the ship, a little bit of a cult hero for leading them on that crazy turnaround 2 seasons ago. But I don't think you can really give the game to him for a full season and really expect to kind of run your offense at full speed. But until somebody kind of wrestles that away from him or kind of presents themselves, they're kind of in this weird spot, especially with Pickett being dinged up.
Apparently, though, they were planning or saw a scenario, at least, where all 4 quarterbacks could make this team, according to GM Andrew Berry. We've largely looked at the last 5 roster spots as developmental spots, and that can come from any position. If there are 4 that we think are 53-man worthy and we can keep them all, we will. So 4 quarterbacks out of 53.
Hey, I'm not really
like a stretch. But.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. It feels like some practice squad reps are in the future of one of those 4 and probably one of those 2 really rookies. It feels like, and that's where I'm kind of curious who gets some distance in the competition there. Because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's on one hand kind of a real nice luxury that you got 4 guys that are worthy of a spot, but it's kind of roster malpractice. I mean, how many times you see 2 at the most, it feels like, and maybe a third kind of listed as your emergency. So I'm kind of fascinated to see how this plays out just from the sits. Pickett, I don't know if this immediately kind of puts him on the chopping block per se. But yeah, if you were Kenny Pickett, you were hoping to battle through and maybe wrestle the starting reps away from Flacco. And now obviously you're really kind of behind the 8 ball in that regard.
It's interesting in that, I don't know that you necessarily want to go into the season if you're Cleveland with a rookie backup. I mean, it would feel like to me that their ideal situation would be Flacco, Pickett, and one of the rookies. So I don't know. I don't know how this impacts Pickett necessarily. It's again, it's a fascinating situation, but that's Cleveland.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, for whatever this worth, I'd rather have one of them two guys backing up the Flacco than the likes of Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle, just for the record.
Just for the record.
You at least, I mean, the cool thing is the good news and bad news are the same thing. You got two rookie quarterbacks. The good news is you kind of have all this untapped potential kind of at your disposal. The bad news is only one of them, if either one, can kind of get some PT. And then, yeah, you're still having to overcome all the other challenges that come with being a rookie. So we should not be surprised that Cleveland finds himself in a weird spot yet again.
There we go. Less weird, I guess, a little south of Cleveland, Cincinnati and Shamar Stewart finally agreed to terms. The rookie out of Texas A&M. Both sides just found some even ground. We both thought it would be beneficial for us to just stop arguing and just get me back on the field. The edge rusher said he was one of two draftees still unsigned and the only first rounder. And as we've talked about on the show, there was some language that the Bengals wanted to put in his contract that he adamantly disagreed with. But $500,000 later, because that's how much more of his signing bonus he's getting immediately, all of a sudden that language wasn't such a big deal, I guess. It was a pretty cool moment. They made me feel welcome, made me feel wanted, made me feel like I belong here. It was a very great moment. This is where I wanted to be the whole time, said the former Aggie. So Shamar Stewart is signed and in camp. Now I've got to make my mark. I can't tell you how long I've been dreaming about this. Of course, they got Shamar Stewart, but they're still struggling with the Trey Hendrickson situation, apparently. So, Cincinnati not in the clear just yet.
Not in the clear just yet, and they're going to be a fun watch this season because we know, obviously, the offense at its peak is maybe the best in the NFL, and they can go supernova. Can they stay healthy? Can they have everybody kind of intact? Can they keep everybody in-house? Can they get enough stops defensively to kind of fulfill that talent and that potential there? That'll be the real question. And it also feels to me, if things start wobbling, I mean, we're headed toward like dumpster fire situation. I don't really see it's going to be a boom or bust season, and that's why I'm so fascinated to kind of watch them, because they're either going to be really fun and really entertaining, or it feels like it'll be really ugly and really tough to watch as the year progresses.
And you just feel like Joe Burrow deserves a little bit better. So hopefully it will be the fun scenario that you've mentioned there. As long as we're in the AFC North, we might as well stay in the AFC North. Former Tennessee receiver Cordero Patterson posts on his Twitter, breaking news, Pittsburgh Steelers release old, washed-up Cordero Patterson on his day off. So, Steelers release Cordero Patterson. Source, Cordero Patterson. Signed a 2-year, $6 million deal last year with Pittsburgh, was set to make $2.8 million this year, and apparently, again, has been released. Drafted out of UT in the first round by Minnesota as a receiver. Really made his bones on special teams. He's been a all-pro return specialist. He's been with Minnesota, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Bears, and in Atlanta, where he transitioned to running back. But has really not been the impactful player with Pittsburgh that he had been previously. Again, 135 rushing yards, 80 receiving yards, 1 touchdown in 13 games last year with 1 start. So, again, Cordero Patterson, according to Cordero Patterson, has been released by the Pittsburgh Steelers. You hate to see it.
Hate to see it, but I mean, it felt like it was going to be really, he was in the crosshairs for maybe one of those final few receiving spots, right? We're talking about Metcalf, Robert Woods, Calvin Austin, those kind of 3 are seemingly entrenched kind of in that wideout group. But then Scotty Miller had a great season last year. They got high hopes for Roman Wilson. Patterson, Yeah, I mean, he's such an odd position, right? Or an odd player in terms of what he can bring to the table. Pretty good at special teams, pretty good at receiver, decent at running back, like you just mentioned. Kind of not great at really any of those. And because of that odd situation and that odd juxtaposition, the Swiss Army knife kind of finds himself out of Pittsburgh right now in a loaded receiver room.
Yeah, tough for him. 12 years in the league, though, so you'll take that. If somebody had told him coming into the league that he was going to get 12 years, you'd take that, right?
Yeah, and I would have bought the under on that all day long, just because outside. I mean, we're talking about him coming into the league when special teams kickoff returns, obviously in particular, were getting taken out of the game by and large, left and right. If he had entered now, maybe it looks a little different. Maybe you project something because that specialist kind of not necessarily totally exists, but the conditions are more favorable. So I would have been buying the under. So it's kind of a testament to what he's done. Had a season high 8 rushing touchdowns with the Falcons. Had some really good years in Minnesota to kind of start, but he's kind of just been in an odd spot in terms of his position and kind of the ultimate enigma there, but extremely talented. I'll be curious to see if he ends up on somebody else's roster.
All right. Michigan Wolverines looking at a 2026 ball game in Germany against in-state rival Western Michigan. Would be the first time the Maize and Blue have gone outside of the United States for a contest. They were originally set to play Western Michigan over Labor Day weekend at the Big House, but instead it looks like this game would take place a week earlier on August 29th at Frankfurt's Deutsche Bank Park. If it comes off, it's in the final. This isn't a done deal, but discussions are ongoing according to the university. So
be pretty cool. Be nice to see. Be nice to see them get some overseas love. And I'm shocked. Harbaugh took the team to the Vatican several years ago for a preseason tour. I'm kind of surprised that it's just now happening. Felt like he would have been the one to kind of pull those strings, but it will be a cool thing if they can pull it off.
Again, they've never played outside of North America. There's never been an FBS game in Germany. The first college game, it would be the first college game in Germany since 92, when you had a couple of D3 programs, Heidelberg and Otterbein, that played near Frankfurt. So this seems to be moving in that direction. I'm excited about the football and educational experience this game could provide for our players, according to Sharon Moore. We're always looking for unique opportunities to expose our student athletes to other cultures. In the last 10 years, our program has been to Italy, France, and South Africa, and this game would provide another chance to grow our international fan base. Always be marketing, huh? Western Michigan has its passports, apparently. They played in the International Bowl in 2007. That was in Toronto. And they played in the 2015 Bahamas Bowl. So the Broncos have got their international chops. I don't think that's going to provide them any advantages when they line up against Michigan in Frankfurt next year. So,
yeah, and this is one that obviously will kind of sell some tickets. On one hand, I wish this was a little more marquee opponent, but on the other hand, I saw what Georgia Tech went on the road and did in Dublin last year, and I don't want to end up in a Florida State situation. So sign me up for Eastern Michigan 7-0 all time versus the Eagles. I'll take that no matter where you're going to play. No need to go play in Alabama overseas.
If we're going to go all that way, let's ensure that it's going to be a happy trip home, right?
Correct.
Yeah. High school football news, and sad to report, Bolton sophomore offensive lineman Joshua Henderson had collapsed from heat stroke or heat issues back on July 7th. He passed away over the weekend at the age of 16. kidney failure from severe heat stroke. Details are kind of sketchy on this. Not sketchy, just unavailable, I guess. Again, passed out on Monday, July 7th on the football field at Bolton. Was rushed to a local hospital, was treated for heat-related illness, but died of organ failure caused by a severe heat stroke. It's just, and it just leaves you kind of speechless here. And we see this far too often. I mean, with all of the precautionary measures that are in place with, trainers and, monitoring temps and feels like and that kind of thing and getting folks off the field, it's tough that this kind of thing is still taking place. And I don't necessarily know what there is that you can do about it, but there's got to be something, because that family, that coaching staff, those kids, this is tough. Nobody should have to deal with this. And I just don't know how you address it.
Yeah, sad situation all around. Our thoughts and prayers are obviously with his immediate family and with that community and that school, because everything feels like it's kind of been put in the right place. And man, I had to look this up, but it feels like Corey Stringer with the Vikings was not that long ago, but also, man, it was 2001 when that happened. So, wow. It feels like a lot of time has elapsed, but also it feels like it was just yesterday. And these stories happen, unfortunately, across the country. It's, not a Tennessee-specific deal we're talking about. And you do the best you can. You try and put the most safeguards in that you can. But, man, that is a tough situation. And we will certainly be thinking about that family and that community. That's awful.
Absolutely. And you're right. It doesn't just happen in Tennessee. It doesn't just happen at the high school level. Corey Stringer was with the Vikings at the time. We've heard of it in Maryland with the University of Maryland. It happens at all levels in all places. And, you keep telling these kids hydrate and not just hydrate during practice, but before and that kind of thing. And I know that these coaches and these training staffs are vigilant in having their kids do so. So it's tough. It's really hard to read about this kind of thing continuing to happen, and it's terribly unfortunate. You hate to hear about it. Tennessee got a commitment from Oakland defensive back / receiver Joel Wyatt. And when we say Oakland, we mean as of the last 2 weeks. Prior to that, he was at the Webb School in Bell Buckle. But one of the top uncommitted in-state prospects heading into this 2026 recruiting class, 4-star according to 24/7, plays both sides, but is expected to focus on the defensive side of the ball at the collegiate level. And it's going to be interesting, the abundance of riches that the Patriots have put together this year, because they've also got another safety, Craig Tutt, who is a 4 or 5-star guy, and I think he committed here not too long ago, and I can't remember who to.
Ole Miss.
There we go. 6'4" and a half, 195-pound Wyatt, who again played both receiver and defensive back at the Webb School last year, which is not playing football this year. But he tabbed UT over Oklahoma, Louisville, Mississippi State, Georgia, LSU, and Vanderbilt. The number 47 overall prospect, number 5 athlete in the class of 2026, number 3 rising senior from Tennessee, and is a 4-star. So big get for Josh Heupel and the Volunteers there.
Big get for them. They got now, according to the state rankings, 5 of the top 10 already locked up. That now pushed the pressure on your Mount Pleasant guy, Jaden McClure, who's now the, according to 24/7, the top unsigned checking in at number 25 in the volunteer state here.
That'll be interesting. Keep an eye on that. I know that Kit Hartsfield has one of his first pictures when he was announced as the new Mount Pleasant coach after previously having been at Blackman. He and Urban Meyer were kind of rubbing elbows. So he's got some connections. It'll be interesting to see where Mr. McClure does wind up. You're right. We'll be keeping an eye on that here locally for sure. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return, we will be joined by the queen of Tennessee sports media, Teresa M. Walker of the Associated Press, talking a little Titans. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
We continue with the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now from the Associated Press, Teresa M. Walker, who was at Nissan Stadium Saturday for the Tennessee Titans workout. And, you know, it felt like spirits were pretty high out there. Everybody was impressed with what they saw, but speaking of not being able to have nice things, Traylon Burks, who has gotten a lot of positive comments over his work to this point in the summer, makes a catch, diving catch, I guess, injures his shoulder, fractured clavicle. First of all, Teresa, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And yeah, I watching the way he laid out, it was a beautiful catch, but it was out of bounds. And like so much of what we've seen in his pro career, it's great effort, but it leads to an injury. He came up, immediately grabbed at the right shoulder, and then walked to the locker room. And, you know, we barely finished up on the field when there's an NFL Network. And by the way, they were there broadcasting from the practice, and it's like, oh, he's got a broken collarbone. And just within the last 30 minutes, the Titans have announced that they have waived Traylon Burks as injured. So for the people wondering how much string they were going to give him to try to hang on as a former first rounder, he had appeared he'd started 17 games, appeared in set 27 out of 51. And he becomes now the third straight first rounder that this franchise whiffed on. If you want to know why they're coming off a 3-win season and have 3 straight losing seasons, well, the 2020 draft, when they took Isaiah Wilson out of Georgia, and they ended up suspending him in December of that year, followed by Caleb Farley, the cornerback, who had just had back surgery in March the year they took him. He seems to, at last I saw, he was with Carolina trying to, continue his career, but it's like, and then 2022, which was kind of the nadir, I think, of that run where they had a franchise wide receiver. We heard the coach at that time, Mike Vrabel, say, as long as I'm the coach, he'll be here. And then, oops, we're in the draft, and I see, guys, I was telling the workroom, it's like the Titans have traded A.J. Brown. And when you have those moments in drafts and you see something that you think is just absurd, you're like, check to see, is it legit? There's so many fake accounts out there. No, this really was Schefter. And before we know it, it's like it's an 18th pick, and they are taking Traylon Burks. And for so long, they tried to say he was so much like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown missed some games, but A.J. Brown had more than 1 touchdown catch in 3 seasons for the Titans. Yeah, that was a rough run. So, and here's the thing, guys, since 2019, do you know how many draft picks are still on this roster as of now? 3. Jeffrey Simmons, Amani Hooker, and Roger McCreary are all that remain from 2019 on. Now, granted, you've got guys who will go elsewhere and sign deals, but a lot of this is just, and as somebody pointed out earlier today, if they had, they could have had Amon St. Ra or Brown or what, the receiver that went to Detroit. I mean, the couldas, shouldas, wouldas are just pretty big right now for this franchise. That and honestly, it's why, and you mentioned it, Mo. They had talked. He was in great shape. Cam Ward had said really nice things about him because he is a different person, a different body type that was in that receiving room, but now he's not.
I just happened to be scanning through some Titan stuff, getting ready for you to come on, and came across this article. Titans signed Ramel Keaton out of Tennessee, a former Tennessee receiver, waive injured Traylon Burks. I wasn't expecting that when we got you lined up to talk about this situation, but yeah, just really kind of points to, I don't know if ineptitude is too strong a word or not, but certainly the Titans have not fared well at the top of the draft, or did not fare well at the top of the draft for a number of years while John Robinson was calling the shots.
It almost felt like 2019, they hit on Jeffrey Simmons, a guy who was coming. He tore his ACL in February that year. And Jeffrey Simmons is different. He's one of those guys, and he was on the field in October and ended up starting, I think it was, he either played 9 games, started 7, or something like that. I mean, he came back quickly, ridiculously quickly from an ACL. And when not only got back on the field, he was productive as a rookie coming off that injury. And it's almost like, when you go to the casino or something, and it's like, keep doing it. I won. Let's keep doing it. I love that feeling. We got some great and literally when they took Caleb Farley, that's what that felt like was, we're going to make that Jeffrey Simmons coming off an injury where, he dropped for a reason. And granted, Caleb Farley was seen as possibly the best cornerback in that draft. Hindsight, well, I like Greg Newsome out of Northwestern myself, who, he's had a fairly decent little career. He certainly had more games and more production than we saw out of Caleb Farley here, unfortunately. And then with Isaiah Wilson, you can give an asterisk. Pandemic. You didn't get to go through the whole process that Zoom world was different. We know this. Right. But let's put it this way: there were some early signs. The incident in September near TSU or on Charlotte, where he was caught doing donuts and crashed his car. That was a big no-no. But the one that it comes back to Burks. That was the thing. If you're going to trade away your franchise receiver, you have to hit on that.
Well, when you're going to trade away your franchise receiver, when your franchise has never had a franchise receiver.
Yes, since this franchise moved here, I remember when they signed Yancey Thigpen, and I could go on and on and on. Julio traded for Julio Jones. They'd been looking for so long, trying to remember. Andre Johnson was a Titans receiver for a brief time before he retired under Mike Mularkey after the big win in Detroit. So hey, he caught the winning touchdown in that game. But you've been looking for this long. You don't get rid of a guy like that. People can bang on Rand Carthon for not doing a great job for the spending spree he had last year. But you know what he did do? Jeffrey Simmons, that never became an issue. There was never talk of holdouts or skipping time. They got that deal done quickly. And that's what you have to do when guys are going to be paid in the NFL. Cincinnati, pay attention now. That they could have had their deal with Trey Hendrickson done early this year, and yet the price tag just goes up the longer you delay doing a deal. Pay them, and you've got the money. And some people you let walk. You do not let a franchise wide receiver walk. And let's not forget, Amy Adams-Strunk fired John Robinson, 2 days after the loss in Philadelphia, where A.J. Brown had a big day. And the same day, Traylon Burks knocked out in the end zone, taken off the field with a concussion.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, that it didn't work out because I think everybody was obviously hoping for that plug and play, that one-to-one replacement factor, Teresa. But I'm looking at it this other direction. Yeah, you whiff, and okay, now you don't have a one-to-one replacement receiver, but you scroll through this draft list, and it's like, well, we may have needed a receiver, but I wouldn't have minded, having a all-pro linebacker, having a extra offensive lineman. I mean, the fact is you swung for the fences on a one-to-one kind of replacement in my mind, and not only did you whiff there, that kind of set everything else back to some extent.
Oh, absolutely, Wade, because that's the thing. Again, if you sign A.J. Brown then, you've got a receiver, and it allows you to use your pick on any other position. How long did we see offensive line be an issue? I mean, we're hoping that they found a stopgap measure this year so that Peter Skoronski, J.C. Latham can grow and be pieces of this offensive line moving forward. And this is the franchise of Mike Munchak, Bruce Matthews, Brad Hopkins, for goodness sakes, Michael Ruse. And now suddenly it's a revolving door. So they're trying to, hopefully they found some pieces to put stones in the door, but they could have addressed other issues that might have kept everything from falling from a two-time division champ to 7 wins, 6 wins, now 3 wins, and the number 1 pick overall. I mean, you hope things are great with Cam Ward moving forward, but yes, you should look at what you could have, should have had if you hadn't needed to, talk about an own goal, forced yourself into having to take a wide receiver.
And it's interesting, Wade, when you make that point, because the Titans took Burks at 18. 4 picks later, the Green Bay Packers took Georgia inside linebacker Quay Walker. I mean, and that's just a for instance right there. I mean, Trent McDuffie from Washington went 2 picks late after Burks, a cornerback out of Washington, going to Kansas City. I don't know that he's still there, but I mean, there were other positions of need and other impact players that obviously were still out there and available when they made that pick. So that's an interesting get in the Wayback Machine and consider there for sure. Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, that situation kind of put a damper on what was otherwise a pretty good day, I guess, Teresa.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing. You see the new field goal kicker, and, you're thinking, well, wait a minute. Nick Folk did a pretty good job last year. Why are we switching things up? But, Joey Sly kicks a 66-yarder. Now it makes me wonder, if they need a field goal in Denver in the season opener on September 7th, file that one away. But the thing that literally jumped out at me the most was a couple of things. Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley. We've seen it in the offseason. We're seeing it continue to grow here. The Titans and the NFL tweeted out one throw where Calvin Ridley left his feet and caught it with both hands. That play was coming at me. But he had a couple of other long balls. He had a great one into triple coverage to Tyler Lockett, who caught it, and some of the observers were saying, "Ooh, that's a nice little talk about putting the dot in the I there." So there were some good throws. Now Cam Ward was picked by James Williams, and that's probably a good sign for the defense, because James Williams is a second-year guy converted from safety, and they're needing him to be an inside linebacker. Cody Barton is looking like, of all the free agent signings over the last couple of years, he's looking like a really good pick. He has been Cam Ward's nemesis through the offseason and here to start camp. But James Williams got his hands on a pick, and that's a good thing for probably an area that we're watching the most to see who steps up there in the middle of that defense. So, but yeah, it was all good vibes, and then they the families on the field afterwards, and they're signing autographs. And somebody handed their kid to Cam Ward.
Cam Ward has arrived already, Teresa. They're handing their children over to him. It was like the Pope had came to town. I loved seeing that this weekend.
Art But Make It Sports took that Jim Wyatt picture and shared a painting version of that with the picture. And by the way, Art But Make It Sports went to college in the Nashville area, so there's always a Nashville tie. Yep. So yes, and that whoever runs that account does incredible work. Follow them on social media; you won't regret it. But that's the thing. He didn't talk to us. Would have been nice. He did talk to the NFL Network, and they asked him. It's like he's getting up at 5:30 in the morning and getting in or being there at work at 5:30. So he's back. He was at 5 during the off-season program. Now that they've got the longer days of camp, he's getting in at 5:30. And they asked him, "Why are you working so hard?" And he's like, because we younger players, we have to be ready day one. And last week, Chad Brinker, the president of football operations, was like, asked how to measure success this year, and he's like, nobody likes to hear the word patience, but we're going to be leaning on a lot of young players, and this is a roster where 9 draft picks, I think 48 players new to this franchise this offseason, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with and Cam Ward's going to lead the way. He's the quarterback.
And it sounds like, Teresa, and obviously it's got all sorts of opportunity to go left at any point, but to this point it sounds like Cam Ward has hit every note. He's done everything right in terms of being that guy that you want to lead this franchise. Because I was concerned about how a young rookie comes in and leads guys with 10, 12 years in the league and that kind of thing. But it seems like he has earned that respect pretty much from the get, some kind of way.
Absolutely. When you're in there early, let's face it, how many times have those of us in sports heard, oh, he's in here first thing in the morning, he's in here late at night and things like that. Well, but he's bringing other guys with him. He's making sure they're all on the same page. Jeff Simmons, when he came in for the mini camp, he wanted to test him out because he'd heard, and he's talking it, and Cam Ward's talking it right back, and and Jeff said on Saturday, it's like he's going to keep that up, and I am going to have his back. So that's the thing. Yes, they're buying in. They want to win. Calvin Ridley said during the practice Saturday on the video board when interviewed by Amy, and I'm blanking on her last name all of a sudden, but Titans Amy, and she said, he said, we're going to have fun. We're going to bring the fun back to Nashville. I don't know how many games we won last year, but it wasn't, he made it clear. They know how last year hurt. Players want to have fun, and Cam Ward gives them that hope. And, with the offseason approach and focus on cleaning up their self-inflicted mistakes, the holds, all those things. Keontae Coburn got cut last week, and they brought in Jihad Ware. Well, guess what? No offense, but, Coburn was spotted jumping off sides on Wednesday. And it's like, bye-bye. And it's camp. So if it was Thursday, not Wednesday, excuse me. But the days do start running together here. But that's the thing. The accountability factor has gone up tremendously. And the Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley connection, this is a guy who had 4 touchdown catches last year. No offense, Nick Westbrook-Akina, you got paid by the Dolphins, but he should not have led the Titans in a good offense in touchdowns last year. He cleaned up because they couldn't, stay on the field long enough, etc. But Calvin Ridley, 1,000-yard season last year. I'm not in fantasy, but he'd be one of my picks because I think he's going to be a favorite of Cam Ward's this year.
Teresa, real quick, you mentioned James Williams and that interception. Who else looked good to you on the defensive side of the ball? And also, we've talked a lot about the defensive line in this last week. Give us an update there.
Well, I'm really liking what, the pressure that Draymond Jones got on Saturday. He was kind of living in Dan Moore's kitchen. And Dan Moore said those numbers in Pittsburgh last year that wasn't, well, we'll see. They put pads on this week. Defense always has the edge early. I want to see what happens when the pads come on because, it does change at that point. The offensive line particularly, it's like they're a little bit more able to be physical at that point. So Draymond Jones, Jeffrey Simmons. I mean, there was a great play Saturday where Cam Ward scrambles a little to his left and finds Calvin Ridley, and the Titans shared the pictures of Ridley jumping up in the air, celebrating a would-be touchdown, but that would have been a sack most likely. Jeff Simmons was right there, and he had help. So Simmons has been getting up in there. He's talked a lot about losing weight, and Callahan said last week, I don't think he's lost. I think his speed's good. He said he had like an 18 point something mile per hour play where he was just showing off the wheels. And the bigger key, you don't want to lose strength as an inside guy. Cody Barton seems to make a play every day. Thursday, he had a pick and nearly had a second one. And he said that it was a play that he sat back on the day before. Cam Ward comes with that again the next day. He recognizes it, jumps the route. That tells me that Cody Barton is a guy who's not just performing on the field, he's doing the film work and he's preparing. So, and he's got recall and recognition, which are huge for a guy that is in the middle of your defense. And then, Jarvis Brownlee. I mean, we haven't seen much of L'Jarius Sneed, but boy, Jarvis Brownlee just keeps being around things. And, there was one catch that Calvin Ridley nearly had on Thursday. Xavier Woods kind of popped him in the back to pop that ball out. So those are the guys that I've been seeing. And, once the pads come on, that's when things change, and we'll see how they survive this week. And I'm really hoping that they're streaming some of the practices of the joint practices because this is going to be weird. They're going to be gone for like 10 days. I'm not used to that, guys.
Teresa, as you kind of went through some of those defensive names, conspicuous to me in his absence, what is Tavondre Sweat looking like right now in year 2?
He's been good, but let's not forget he's next to some guy named Simmons most of the time.
I know.
But they have liked what they've seen. He's another guy who's leaned up a bit. So I think he's one of those people that we'll see more of in the joint practices that start next week, August 7th at Tampa Bay, and then the week after that when they've got 2 with the Atlanta Falcons.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I know that Borgonzi and Brinker are keeping things close to the vest, but is it going to be Ward, Boyle, and Allen?
Well, Borgonzi and Brinker both said last week they're comfortable with their quarterback room right now. Callahan said the other day that, he kind of indicated, because he used the word backup when talking about Brandon Allen, and he's made some good throws. So, he's looking, and he knows this offense. He knows what Callahan's wanting to do, so he can be that person that's talking to Cam Ward. And, if he needs a translation on something, if he needs somebody who's been around the NFL for a while, Brandon Allen can be that guy. And let's not forget, Callahan was the guy who helped grow Joe Burrow as number 1 pick overall in his rookie season with Cincinnati. Oh yeah, year 2 as well. So, it does seem like those are going to be the guys. It's still 5 weeks till the true end of the regular, the post preseason. Geez. And 6 weeks till the opening game in Denver. So we'll see. They have the number 1 spot in the waiver wire. Things can always change. People can come available, and they suddenly decide, you know what, we want this guy instead, and they hold that number 1 spot through the first 3 games of the regular season. But for right now, yes, they haven't come out and said Cam Ward's the starter for the season, but it kind of feels like fait accompli, because with Will Levis gone, I mean, do we really think Brandon Allen, with his handful of starts in the NFL, is going to be the guy that suddenly is the starter in Denver? No, it's all. That's why, Callahan said Wednesday he is getting the majority of the reps with the ones. They are doing their best to get him ready. And he talked again Saturday that, they're doing their best to, especially with lots of third down and red zone work, trying to get him ready for what he can see. And he used the phrase impressive, what he's seeing, that he's, they're helping him try to be ready, because you're going to either see zone or you're going to see pressure. And so to recognize what defenses are bringing on third downs, that, when a coach is impressive in those situations, they seem to really like what Cam Ward is doing, how he's learning. Of course, the trial by fire comes when it's live snaps and the defense is coming at him. So he's rookie. He's going to have growing pains, but I mean, this is the Cam Ward season. And, I think the Titans are hoping they don't have to learn about Brandon Allen suddenly needing to step in as a starter.
Teresa, I want to ask you real quick. We feel great with Tony Pollard. We feel solid with Spears. But, man, they have a massive kind of battle behind those guys with Chestnut, Mullings. Picked up Jordan Mims a couple days ago. Who are you seeing to maybe – can somebody bust through and become like some sort of viable third down back or kind of extra option there out of those extra guys?
At the moment, I think it's Chestnut, because what he does on special teams. Now, if Mullings or Mims suddenly start showing the ability, and we're not really – I mean, it's practice out there. You're not seeing punt returns, kickoff returns. You'll see those more in the joint practices, particularly the preseason games. That's where these guys – there's, special teamers, show yourselves. It's like, there's nobody penciled in or, even scratched in by, smoke signals yet who's going to be the returner on punts and kicks. So there are playing opportunities there. And if you can be a jack of all trades at one position and play special teams, that is going to help you get on this roster.
Teresa M. Walker of the Associated Press. She is the queen of Tennessee sports media. She's joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Teresa, we appreciate you taking some time with us.
My pleasure.
Stay hydrated.
I am trying. It's not easy.
Yeah. Well,
hang in there.
Hang in there. Absolutely. We will catch up with you. Thank you, ma'am. Let's take our final break here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back, and we will hit on some occurrences from the weekend. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanana. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it. But it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It's the final segment of the weekend wrap-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Mentioned during the rundown, the Sounds walked off Charlotte last night at First Horizon Park. Bobby Dahlbeck with a solo home run in the bottom of the ninth wins it 3-2, gives the Sounds a 4-2 win over Charlotte in that six-game series. They're off today, as they typically are on Mondays. They head to Scranton Wilkes-Barre in Pennsylvania to open a six-game series tomorrow against the New York Yankees AAA affiliate, featuring former Vandy boy Spence, I do believe. So for Vanderbilt baseball fans, you might kind of want to keep some tabs on that series. Spencer's had a pretty good season, judging by some social media reactions and that kind of thing. I don't know if he's going to get to Yankee Stadium this year or not, but definitely a guy on the rise for them. So he'll be going up against the hometown team this week. Speaking of upstate New York, Baseball Hall of Fame inductions took place yesterday in Cooperstown, and apparently Ichiro Suzuki is warming up for a second career as a stand-up comic. Seemed to win the crowd with some of his humorous clips and blips during his 20-minute speech yesterday, telling the Marlins, who had signed him late, that he had never heard of their team when they offered him a contract in 2015, and pointing out that the one writer in the Baseball Writers Association of America's voting for the Hall of Fame that didn't vote for him won. He was one vote away from being unanimous. He said that he had offered to have that writer to his home for dinner. He said the offer for that writer to have dinner at my home has now expired. So, sounds like it was a fun day, despite a rain delay that kind of pushed things late. They got off to a late start because of some midday rain, but Suzuki, Sabathia, and Billy Wagner inducted along with the late Dick Allen and the late Dave Parker. Parker's son and Allen's wife were in attendance and spoke on their behalf. So, again, a great day in Cooperstown.
Great day in Cooperstown, and man, Ichiro's got a little bit of stand-up, a little humor about him, so it was kind of fun to see some of those clips after the fact, and just kind of reading. It's still kind of mind-boggling just how good this guy was. You know, maybe one of the weakest power hitters, pure power hitters to ever get in, but that's for good reason, because he was plying his craft elsewhere. Love this stat. Only two hitters in the history of baseball have recorded 3,000-plus hits after they turned 26, and that was Pete Rose and Ichiro. And nobody is even remotely close. Paul Goldschmidt at 1,668 post-age 26 hits. So the fact that Ichiro did it and had such great success before he even got to the States, and then really didn't even miss a beat, so to speak.
Right.
Unreal career. And yeah, it was kind of neat to see everybody. I mean, that's always a fun event. Everybody's in such good spirits, and you kind of are. It's one of the special induction ceremonies across all sports. So good to see another class.
It is. It's interesting. And, you, as a result, this time of year, you see a lot of Hall of Fame chatter via social media and that kind of thing. And there is a guy on Twitter who has said, I do not believe the Hall of Fame should be decided by writers that never played the game. It shouldn't be a popularity contest. It should be determined by their peers. And it's endorsed by @RealCJ10, Chipper Jones. Who should vote on it, and who would insulate it from being a popularity contest if it weren't the writers? I don't care. I'm not necessarily taking this up as a journalist. I'm just kind of curious. Who's supposed to vote on it?
I mean, it seems like that's the two scenarios, right? You entrust kind of the media at large, a trusted, hand-selected, very meticulous process to weed out, to the real diehard selecting committee there, or yeah, you turn it over to the players and the peers in some sort of committee there. There are merits to both, just like anything in life. There's always a good side and always a bad side to everything. So I don't know. Like you said, this could be a whole 2-hour show if we want to get into minutia on that. And it is always funny because it always comes up, and then we'll wait about 2 more days, and we won't have this convo for about another year until this time comes up again.
I mean, I don't know that the NFL doesn't have a good formula for it with, a committee of media. I mean, I don't know that there are players involved in that either, unless they're broadcasters. But, from the Baseball Writers Association, you have to be a member of that organization for at least 10 years. Friend of the show, Thomas Harding, is getting to vote for the 2026 class. This will be his first vote. He's been covering Major League Baseball for 20 years now, at least. I mean, I don't know how many people know what the criteria is for the voters as it is, but it just feels like I think people like to kick on journalists in general, and this is no exception. I don't know who it is that didn't get in that they feel like should have, that has been impacted by the voting process. But at any rate, fix it. Go ahead. There are probably some guys that are voting. No, he's got a picture and he's got a U.S. flag on either side of his handle. So, just for what it's worth.
Hey, you think they're bagging on journalists now. Wait till, you just mentioned Scranton a second ago. That's home of, obviously, The Office. The new spinoff series, The Paper, about the newspaper in Toledo is coming out in like 3 weeks. So I'll be fascinated to see. They will kick up some more dirt, whether in the show or on socials, I imagine. So we may have to batten down the hatches here, Mo.
Yeah, that kind of keep a low profile. Harpeth Hall graduate Gretchen Walsh, is doing her thing in the pool yet again. Won the 100-meter butterfly at this weekend's World Aquatics Championships. Barely a tenth of a second behind her world record-setting time to win that. She swam a 54.73. Earlier this year, she swam a 54.60 in Fort Lauderdale. No other female swimmer has broken 55 seconds in the 100 butterfly. So I guess she is pointing toward the 28 Olympics out in LA at this point. But she was halfway through. She was on pace to break that 54.60. Didn't quite do so, but finished well ahead of second place finisher Roos van Otterdijk and a 55.84. So again, Gretchen Walsh doing big things in the pool, winning the World Aquatics Championships in Singapore over the weekend. Finally, apparently there was a big horse race in Serbia over the weekend, and Nikola Jokic's horse won, which started off a pretty huge celebration in marked contrast to his celebration when the Nuggets won the NBA championship a couple of years ago, I guess. Champagne shower for himself, the horse, and everybody else involved with the winning team. So the big guy pretty happy there.
Yeah, I heard it put earlier today that he's a horse racing purist and owner that just also happens to be one of the best basketball players of all time on the side. Not a bad side gig if you can get it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Horses over hoops, maybe. Yeah, it seems to be horses, hoops, or hoops and horses, and then everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Joker. Big win back in his home country. That's going to do it for the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join Wade and Calvin White tomorrow right here at 2 o'clock. I'll see y'all back on Thursday. Have a good one.